So, Michael, I think I first met you when you took on the role of the CTL, then CCNMTL, Faculty Support Lab Manager. So, this was on the first floor of Butler Library. And you had a space where anybody could walk in at any time. It was designed for faculty to come in and get any kind of support they needed to use technology in some way in their work. And so in some ways, I feel like you were the front door to our organization, like the first person people would meet often. And you had no idea what was going to happen when they came in the door. Did they need help with something that they couldn't even like explain to you, or did they have a really kind of clear set of things they wanted to get done? It was all basically you as intake. So I'm curious to know, what drew you to that role
Mhm.
in the first place, and then what did it take? Like, did it work out for you right away? Did it take you time to kind of work out like the sort of approach that was best for you in the end? And like, how did it like change you? What did you learn from that experience as you got good at it? I mean, I think you were probably always good at it, but like, what did you get even better at that was like that made that job yours?
Yeah. Um, I think one thing that I didn't have in my prior career, which was a Broadway stagehand, which I did for a long time. I really liked being a stagehand, but what was lacking was the ability to sit down and talk with people and try to solve their problems that way. I was a problem solver in a much different way, by programming computers and fixing motors and re-rigging cables that might have been, caught. Those are the kind of problems that I was faced with that I tried to solve. Didn't take a, they weren't really a lot of conversational problem solving, but I kind of like realized that I really liked doing that. I liked helping people by sitting across from a table and talking to them and listening to their problems about their courses and things like that. So when I became this faculty lab manager, and I was given, which gratitude up to today, I was given the freedom to have a lab, and that when people came in, I could conduct my meetings any way I deemed fit. It was such a, a great opportunity that I jumped on it. I took it. So when faculty would come in, I really try to sit there and talk to them about their course with complete intentionality. No question was a bad question. I gave the feeling like I had all the time in the world to talk to you about your class. And there was nothing too small that I wouldn't do. Like the whole thing was intentional. And because I think that, to get the best out of people, teachers, you have to bring your best to the table. So it really gave me a chance to, for the first time in my life, be able to sit with people and listen to them, solve problems. And it made me realize that, to do this well, you have to be sort of a diagnostician. You have to pay attention, you have to listen. In order to fix a problem, you have to really see problems, but not in a pessimistic way. You have to see problems in order to solve problems. And I,
Right.
I felt like I enjoyed doing that. And at first it was just off the cuff. It was just be your nicest self and listen and try to apply the things that you are learning. But then I realized that it's an actual discipline. Getting a needs assessment from someone is a very complex mix of art and science. You have to be able to get the best out of the person you're talking to. What you have to figure out what they need. You really can't get them on their heels. It's their course. So a lot of them coming in with like maybe apprehensive, who are you and how are you going to help me? So all those things have to get figured out as you sit there and talk to teachers about their courses and what you're going to do to help them. But at the same time, you're not going to leave them hanging. You're going to be there for building it and making sure it runs correctly. And you're not going to let them, um, you're not going to let that class sort of implode because you're kind of complicated design, but you're not there now to see it through. So there's a lot to it. But it made me realize, yeah, getting a needs assessment is a skill, part of a skill set. And I like the fact that that place helped me hone a skill set. because when people would come in, I always tried to look at it as a graduate level school researcher, as opposed to this is just my job.
Right.
For example, if a lot of faculty would come in, older faculty would come in, and they would have the same problems over and over. Like they'd come in asking me to help them with the same thing. Then I started to realize, well, you could be miffed by that, or you could look at it like, are there some psychological barriers to older people? What's going on here? Is it learned helplessness? Is it maybe a little bit of ego? Is it fear? Like what's happening with older faculty that they would take the time to walk all the way over here than to figure it out at home? That's something that a researcher would want to play with. And it became not a mundane task of, oh, I have to help upload her syllabus again, to, hey, let's talk about what are the things, when it comes to computers, what are the things that you have trouble with? And it became more of a research thing. That lab gave me that ability to think like a researcher and not just say a lab attendant. It
Mm.
wasn't my job. If they wanted a lab attendant, they might have hired someone who maybe didn't go to grad school. But if they hired someone who was studying this in grad school, you should be bringing all that in to what you do, helping faculty. And I just turned it into that kind of job, and I loved it. And I was, again, grateful to this day that people thought to let me do that. They didn't have to, and they let me run the lab like a researcher and help all kinds of people. And if it took more time, then it took more time to help this person, or I gave people the time that they needed. So it was a fun thing, but I think at the end, I'm grateful that I'm grateful that people gave me the ability to carve out my job, and I'm also happy that I took that opportunity and did the carving. I kind of made a job that made me happy.